I really shouldn't have to explain the bleeding obvious, but the way that things have gotten so far is that if you don't go and agree to X, Y, and Z, you must have some kind of ism. And the thing of it is, no. Just because I support an idea does not mean that I necessarily want to say that this is true. There are plenty of things that are true, but that doesn't necessarily mean I want them to be true. However, between wishful thinking and having to come to terms with reality, it makes more sense to accept that which is true. This here is why, when it comes to a lot of isms, it's just so much easier to call people racist. I mean, you don't have to engage your brain at all. All you gotta do is say, I am going to put this label on you, and that's going to go and answer every question I got about you, so I don't need to talk about you because you're such a terrible, horrible Nazi, and therefore I'm better than you, so therefore there's no point in talking. And the thing of it is, I can actually play the same game. I can just go and start slapping labels on someone and saying, well, okay, you're a globalist, communist, and you go and hate white people. You're also heterophobic and very, very anti-male. Therefore, because you're on the left and you support all this crap, I don't have to talk to you because you are such a terrible human being that you want to tear down the current system and leave nothing in its place. And again, a lot of people can do this, but this here has the same shortcomings as the left. Now, I'll be fair. With the generalization I made, I don't know the higher-ups, that's probably true, but most of the quote-unquote foot soldiers on the ground, Antifa, for example, they're just useful idiots. They're not really intelligent enough to go and actually understand what it is they're doing. They've just been fed a bunch of crap, and that's all they know. Which is kind of the problem with slogans and all. It doesn't matter what the slogan is, but all slogans are designed to shut your brain down. If you don't understand what I'm saying, try singing your favorite song while solving a Rubik's Cube. Not really that easy. The point is, by just repetition and everything else and all, it shuts down thinking, which is the entire point of slogans, etc. And what I'm getting at is, no matter which side you're on, it is the entire not engaging your brain thing that seriously pisses me off. And what I'm getting at is, in the terms of racism, yeah, I don't have to like or appreciate anything about what it is I'm saying, but a lot of it is true. Kind of like, well, most violence is done by black people. I know this, okay? It's not even close. Here it is, we got 15% of the population committing 75% of the nation's crime. Okay, that's kind of all part and parcel. You can go and sit and call me names, or you can go and say, okay, that's true, now how do we fix it? And again, this is the main difference between simply saying, this is true, therefore these are horrible people, and this is true, therefore how do we go and make things better? And sometimes the horrifying answer is, there just is no making it better because people are going to be people. They're not robots, they're not automatons, you can't go and change a line of code, you can't turn a screw and make it completely different. There is no way to do this. A lot of it is, people are still tribal. Take a look at Africa. In Africa, if anyone does better, they tear them down and they go and take their stuff and kill the person. That's how it works in Africa. If it wasn't a bunch of white people that were in Africa, it'd just be some other group of people. Take a look at the Zulus. Here it is. The Zulus, they just killed, tons of people that you wouldn't even believe. And they just took all their stuff and it's like, well, there you go. And it's kind of like, well, okay, and I'll try making peace with people like this. What do you think's going to happen? Oh, diversity is our strength. Really? Tell you what, I believe I have the right to kill whoever I want because my God tells me that is right. Now, I of course am not talking about Islam, but I am just saying any religion in general. It doesn't have to be Islam. any religious extremist can go and say, because of this here, what I am doing is just because God says so. Well, okay. At that point, how is this here helping? I mean, I believe that if anyone molests a kid and all, they should be shot. But according to the left, this makes me a bigot, and therefore, I am totally a Nazi. Because if anything the Nazis were known for, it was their stance against pedophilia. But of course, stuff doesn't end there. There's other stuff like, oh, well, America. There's been other lies told, such as, well, America is really a giant melting pot where everyone becomes the same. No, that's not true at all. We don't become the same. A lot of us, in fact, still have our own culture, our own identities. We're still flying flags from whatever country we came from, and then saying that America should be burnt to the ground. Well, okay now. I don't know about you, but as much as whites have tried to go and intermix and everything else and get along, if Whitey is the most extremist racist there ever was, and they've been working hard at not being racist, how the fuck do you think that a pamphlet is going to go and help a bunch of people whose main tenets are kill all the men and rape the women? Well, okay, that's not going to make any sense at all. I mean, we're actually trying and we're getting nowhere. What do you think's going to happen when you go and tell a Muslim, hey, be nice to black people because they're human too? A Muslim's going to look at you like you're crazy. And for those who don't get it, Muslims have been enslaving black people for generations. This isn't a short one-generation stint. This is for hundreds, if not for over 1,000 years, they've been enslaving black people from Africa. And it's kind of like, well, okay now, slavery's still going on in Muslim countries to this day. And so the average Muslim is not going to view black people as a human being, and yet you're going to sit and tell me that a pamphlet or just having them exposed to whatever culture is going to change them. That's like saying by forcing someone to live in a barn, they're going to be a barnyard rooster or start producing milk, or that it's okay to go and kill them and eat them for their meat. I mean, it makes no sense at all what you just said. In fact, it's not only does it not make any sense, it couldn't be more opposite from sense to begin with. But of course, oh well, I'm clearly biased and everything else, me being a straight white male. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the thing of it. You go and say, well, you're a straight white male, therefore you got privilege. And I'm like, well, okay, therefore you are biased against me because of my current state. Therefore, why should I listen to you? Again, it's like these people who come to this country and they're saying, well, we hate you, you're terrible. And I'm like, well, get the fuck out. If I ended up in China and I just started going around saying, how terrible the Chinese are and they should benefit my lifestyle and I shouldn't have to work and everything else, I would be attacked by the police and arrested as a political prisoner. But because we're so racist now, that totally works. Because telling a racist person that they're racist just horrifies them like nothing else. Seriously, go up to a Klansman or a neo-Nazi and tell them that you're biased or that they go and hate X, Y, and Z. Let me know what kind of reaction you're going to get out of them. Somehow, I don't think it's the one of trying to go and say, oh, no, I'm not that, no. I'm totally diverse, totally embrace people. All I'm saying is, actual racists don't give a damn about being called racist. In fact, they kind of embrace it. But again, this here is all about shutting down the brain. It's not about building bridges and actually hashing out our differences. It's the entire, we're right, you're wrong. Therefore, we are entirely justified in doing whatever we want to you because you're all a bunch of terrible people. Well, okay. Going by that logic, me just killing everyone who disagrees with me because I practice Islam now, that makes it okay for me to go and do whatever I want then. Because, hey, you disagreed with me, therefore that's justification for me to kill you. Muhammad says so here are you to go and argue with him. He's the template for the perfect human being. Because everyone should be a complete sex addict and sleep with about 9 or 11 women. And, yeah, for Muhammad only, the restriction on 4 wives was lifted. And again, oh no, you're saying bad things about Islam. You are completely Islamophobic. Yeah, and if I was talking about Christianity and I was talking about pedophile priests and how terrible this is, I would probably be called Christian phobic. But oh, no, wait, that wouldn't happen because here it is, you say anything bad about Christianity and nothing happens. But here it is, you go and say anything about a group of people and all, even something as minor as, hey, people aren't allowed to pray here. Why are the Muslims allowed to pray in this area if you're not allowed to? You'll get arrested for that if you're in the UK. How do I know it? Because that actually happened to one elderly old woman. But again, like I said, a lot of this stuff isn't about building bridges, it's about shutting people up. Trying to go and guilt trip them into just shutting up and going along with whatever. And it's kind of like, well, if you're not even interested in listening to me, why should I listen to you then? By what right should I go and forfeit whatever's going on in my head to listen to someone who has nothing going in theirs? I've said this before time and again. People worry about what other people think. But the sad thing of it is, if they knew the truth of how very little people actually do that, they'd quit worrying about it. I don't mind being diverse and I don't mind being inclusive, but only as long as it works. When it isn't working and then you tell me, oh, it isn't working, therefore it's your fault, I somehow quit giving a shit about it. It's like saying, well, okay, here's a job opening for this business, but we're going to blame everything on you if something goes wrong. And because you're such a terrible piece of shit to begin with, we're not going to go and give you an authority or power because as a very specific, narrowly defined demographic, you are a horrible person, and therefore, you're responsible but have no authority to go and change it. In fact, not only that but we expect you to go and actually give up your own money, your own income, and go and do what you can for the business's own benefit. At some point, you're just going to start saying, fuck you, because there is no other point to make. And if you think I'm making this up, I have actually watched YouTube videos of, this insane black woman telling white people to quit their jobs, give up their housing, and give it all to black people. And I'm like, okay, you're going to sit and call me an evil racist bigot, and yet I'm just not going to care. And how can I? I mean, it's like the old saying, I'm trying to listen to you, but your actions are drowning you out. And in fact, if nothing else, all this stuff is doing is making it more and more apparent that this isn't a giant melting pot, that it's not even a stew. It's a bunch of people being very, very tribal and seeking to get as much as they can for their own group. And the only group that isn't doing it, which is the majority of people, white people, they're being told they're terrible human beings when they're just trying their best. And again, I'm just like, well, okay, if I'm in China and I'm saying it's such a terrible, horrible country and they're totally biased against me, I'd just be told to pack my bags and leave. I mean, I'm not wanted there. If you're going to go and say it's a terrible place, then what the heck are you doing there? But, oh, you say that as a white person now, you hate, whatever demographic you're talking about. And it's kind of like, well, okay, you can sit and call me all these terrible, evil, racist names, but if I don't care about what you're saying, if I'm not buying what you're selling, it just don't matter. And the truth is, I don't care what other people think to begin with, so you trying to go and say, well, it's not what I say that matters, it's what other people think. Fine. Let them run their mouth. Let them do what they want. They're all a bunch of idiotic sheep that can't go and think for themselves. They gotta be led about through the nose. I'm like, yeah, I'm an evil, horrible, racist bigot, but at least my horrible, racist, and bigotry is actually built upon fact, reason, and logic, and not upon the backs of wishful thinking. I'm pretty sure if wishful thinking would work, Santa Claus would be real. I should not have to explain that one to you. And again, yeah, I totally wish that IQ wasn't tied to genetics. I totally wish that was true. I totally wish that it was something else that was causing the black family to not work. But a lot of this stuff, a lot of it's just, it's like you can deny it all you want, but reality is going to win eventually anyway. And to be quite honest, with a bunch of people telling me that I'm this horrible, terrible human being and that I should go and kill myself and everything else, well, between having my own country taken over by other people and keeping my country as it is now for my own group, I'd rather my own group do it. And it's not just because it benefits me, it's because I actually understand that white people, at the very least, because they got no one to blame, they actually are in a position to do the most good, ironically. It's simply a lot more is going to be done for humanity as a whole. I don't mean, I'm pretty sure Western countries will benefit the most, but it's kind of the trickle-down effect. I do believe that with white people at the helm of their own damn country, if you think me saying white people in control of their own damn country is bad, fine. Go and talk to North Korea about giving up control of their country and tell me how that works for you. Let's see how Little Rocket Man takes it when people tell him what he should and should not do. In fact, while we're at it, let's look at how different nationalities will react if you tell them anything they don't want to hear. Well, okay now, what happens when you go and tell Whitey what happens? Oh, he gives you free shit. What do you know? Maybe Santa Claus exists after all. It's just not a single person, it's just a fucking nationality, and we're trying to kill him because, who knows? The potatoes fly at midnight. And that's a very important distinction to make.